YouTubers, in the garage today. Got a lot to do, of course. I'm nowhere near coming close to being done, but I figured I got a bunch of stuff shipped to me, some parts, so I figured I'd open up in front of you, maybe get some enjoyment out of that. I don't know. Check my parts and make sure that they all arrived properly, so let's get into them. Okay, this one's from Amazon. I do order stuff through them because it's the same parts, and if I need them quicker, then that's what I do, you know. So let's see what we got here. Oh, that's my steering box load. That's the OO grease that I get for the steering boxes. I prefer the OO grease because if you use the 80-90 weight and your seals are old, it'll leak out, you know, or you have a leak. You can use John Deere cornhead grease. It has an OO consistency, I believe, but this was $11.50 or something for a 32 ounce, so you might want to check into that. It's smooth in steering boxes. It's mostly for older style gearboxes, so that's excellent. Alright, got a big box here. That is from J-Bugs, the one I waited for forever. Okay. No. That's my arm that goes from the steering box to the idler arm. It's what your tie rods connect to. I won't take this out of the plastic yet. Oh yeah, what the hell. Let's take it out. Let's take a look. Oh, really silly. $100 for this arm. Super Beetles are a little bit more pricey on the front end parts. They really package this. I'll be putting this on by tomorrow anyhow. Hopefully, I'm waiting for a couple things to come. There we go. Nice. I think I'm going to... I think with the tie rods though, I'm going to put more grease in them if it'll take it. Alrighty. Got 2 boxes. In here, I think I know what these are. Better be. Open them this way. Start there we go. I got the tie rods. Let's see what I did here, since I'm refreshing the whole system. And wow, skates didn't give me new nuts. Oh, there they are. I bitched for no reason. They're there. Okay. Tie rod ends, inner and outer, with the sleeves. The sleeve, inner, outer, either way, you know. And that's what this is. So I got them for both sides. Nice. All new tie rod ends and sleeves. The idler arm. Let me put this back in here just so I don't have stuff scattered all over the place if I put these on tomorrow. Made in China. Yay. Oh well. Is. Okay, so there's that. Put these over here. Alright, I got another box. Making sure I'm in the camera view still. J-Bugs. Got a free calendar. Free 2020 calendar. We're spending $300. Alright, what's this? This will open easier. steering dampener. Everything will be new on my front end, everything. So that's a new steering dampener. We won't have the Super Beetle shimmy, but the car's 43 or whatever. All them parts did their job. They deserve to be refreshed. Alright. New ball joint. I already have the other ball joint I got from Amazon when I punched the numbers in from Rock Auto. Oh, that's nice. Didn't come with new bolts. One from Amazon did from Beck Ornley. Oh well, either way. See what this is. Lots of little parts. That's the grommets for the brake line, where it goes through the firewall and out the back. They sent me 4. I can only think of 3. One on the outside of the firewall, inside the firewall, and where it goes out the floor in the back. We'll see where a 4th one would go. Okay, bushing for the steering box arm. That goes in right there. Definitely want everything new. Don't want no shimmy or shakes. So that'll go near there. There it is. The bushing from the idler arm. That's what gets pressed up in to the idler arm, which I'll be doing today. I'm going to try to get it in without a press with the nut and bolt trick. We'll see how that goes. New 2 feet of brake hose. Not fuel hose, brake hose that comes from the master up to the reservoir. And 2 emergency brake cables. I'm doing the whole braking system, the whole thing. Roller bearing inner, that's just inner bearing. I already have my bearings somewhere. I don't know where they went. I'll find them. And there we go. Control arm bushing kit, sway arm bushing kit. If that's showing up. That'll do the control arms. Sway bar. Yes, these should last a while. The original ones last a long time, so those should last me a long time. So that was it. Got a mess going on here now, as usual. But here, I'll show you something I did good on. Okay, John and I were talking about this on Volkswagen Planet. I have a deck lid backer. It's in okay condition. I could doctor it up. It's not bad, but I like the 2-slot better because I definitely need slots in there for 1600 dual port to cool. But somebody that I get parts from, and is a friend, said, I got something for you, and he sold it to me very cheap. Don't need much body work. It's a nice condition. But so I don't have to have one of them ABS plastic things. I'm just turning it around here. This is from the convertibles. Has the drain in it. That sucked. Let's try this again. Has the drain in it. So I'll go ahead and take the screws out, re-drill if needed. They may break. I got to put new hinges on that I have already. Pretty cool, huh? The water comes in, the rainwater would come in your vents. It goes into this instead of on the engine. And the hoses, I'm going to pop 2 little tiny holes there so that it drains out the bottom of the deck lid. It's very hard to get a hold of these, and I didn't want to put one of them ABS plastic little hoods over the back of the deck lid to keep the rain out. So this was great. Great, great, great. I can't thank him enough. So got a hold of that, so that's a bonus. Okay, well, what I was talking about is I'm gonna take, I left everything, I didn't loosen the tie rods up. I'm gonna adjust these to the same length as what's on the car and tighten them up. And that way I'll have it at least close enough till I get a front end alignment. So that's how I'm doing it, just to get it together and on the road in the end. And then I'll go to front end alignment shop and have them just tweak it. The tricky part will be, I got a new camber bolt set coming. See how them are egg shaped. And they go in your control arm in the end, and you turn this for the camber on your wheels. So I'll get them as close as I can get them too. Just till it gets front end alignment, which will be as soon as I get it on the road. So that's what I'm doing there. Alright, next, let's get the steering box done. As you can see, the bushing where that arm goes into is tired. So, there we go. Alright, I got a brandy new one right there. So we're going to do the socket trick on this and take it out. Alright, before I do the socket thing, this feels a little, not loose, but let me try something a minute. I'm going to see if I can knock the sleeve out of the center, because if I can pop it out. Up. Oh my. Might be able to get this out without, and then I'll just have to press it in. Hey, something had to go my way today. All right, I'll show you what happened there. Okay, so that bushing came right out. I'm going to clean it up with a wire wheel real quick. I can't seem to get it to focus. Focus. Oh well, you get the point. And then we're going to have to, I hate that. My garage door goes up automatically. Oh well. Got to press this bushing in with the nut and bolt trick. Remember, when you lubricate any rubber bushing, I don't give a chance how wood it is, use dielectric grease, because it don't corrode rubber. Don't be smearing chassis grease and everything around stuff, because once it sits on the rubber for a while, it corrodes rubber. So just use your axle grease or whatever you want to call it for your bearings, metal. But dielectric grease, I was told this by a few old timers, it doesn't corrode rubber. So when you want to lubricate something to get it pressed into something, dielectric grease. All right, let's get on this. Okay, so what I did, found the socket that just fits over the outer edge. You don't want it to, you want the bushing to slip through it, is what it is. Okay, see what I mean? You want your bushing to fit inside the socket, because, let's put a, see, you're just, hope you get the idea what the heck I'm doing here. Well, got to put dielectric grease on. I just lectured you guys about it and I didn't do it. Okay, so put it inside here so it's nice and slippy. Remember, dielectric grease don't corrode rubber. So we're going to put some around the bushing. It'll help it slip in. You don't want to do it dry because you end up ripping the rubber or something, you know. So make sure it's lubed up real good so it slips through. All right. Sorry, I got chewing again. I always got chewing. Okay, so you want the socket to fit the outer edge. You don't want the socket to pull through, obviously. Put the bushing on. Okay, now you want your washer to go on the sleeve, not the rubber. You want it to be on the sleeve in the middle. And I need a smaller, there we go. And drop the nut. Always drop it first. That ain't it. How do I drop it at? Oh, there it is. There. Now you've dropped the nut once. Okay. Alright. Snug it down by hand. Make sure everything's even. Come on. It's like working with a slinky. Keep straightening everything out. Okay. Okay. All right, let's see how this goes if it pulls it down through. Should suck it in. Come on. I don't want to use my gun on something this big, or I'm sorry, this small. It's going in. Hopefully I don't run out of threads, if so I'll stack more washers. I hope you guys can see that and I ran out of thread. Ah, that's okay. No big deal. No big deal. Plus, let's see where we're at here. Oop. Oh, we're in. Okay, well that was good. Okay, you can see, there we go. And then underneath, see how the bushing pulled right through? There's no reason to get a lot of stuff pressed in when you can do stuff this way. So it's in. Let's wipe it off a little there so you can see. Sorry, I'm everywhere. Okay, so nice new bushing inside the steering box. So now I'm going to empty the steering box out of the old grease, and we're going to put in the triple O grease. So that's next. Okay, so we got to take the top off in order to get all the old grease out. Pulls off. I think you gotta spin it off. Oh, wrong way. Because this screw stays in there. So you gotta hold that in the middle. That spins off of there. I found out the hard way the one day when I was trying to figure out why it wouldn't come off. Okay. See this cap, I don't know if you can tell, has threads in it. So this screw goes on there. Yeah, it's pretty nasty inside. Okay, all cleaned out inside the best I'm going to get it. I mean, there's a tiny smidges in there, but it ain't a big deal. I took these green Scotch pads. They're like 5-pack at the dollar store. They work good. And cleaned off where the new gasket goes. Don't use sandpaper, nothing crazy on there. You end up wearing it down. And then the Scotch pad to the top. That we'll go ahead and start putting the grease in now. So let's see how that turns out. Okay, we got our double O grease. And we're going to start putting it in. Wow, this stuff's thick. I'm putting some of it in instead of putting it through the fill hole because it's just easier. And after that, then we'll put our gasket on it. Okay, wow, this stuff's sticky. It's good. Let me get it down in there. Move it real slow. Let it work its way in. It's getting down in there. This stuff supposedly gets thick, and then when you're turning the wheel, it immediately softens up, so to speak, to let it go through. That way you don't have leaks out your seal. Unless you got $400 for a new steering box, which I'd rather not spend it on that right now. I got other stuff to do. So I don't like how that feels right there. Maybe it'll be different once it's adjusted. stop and put the gasket on it, snug it up, and finish filling it through the fill hole, because it's coming up near the gasket surface when I turn it now. So, all right, let's do that. Okay, that is a paper gasket, literally. I could have made that. It was only a couple dollars anyhow, so. Okay, so this is gonna be fun because I gotta put that on like this. Come on. You have to thread it down on. I gotta get a screwdriver down in here to hold it. There we go. But you don't want it to hit that gasket and spin it, so once you get so far, make sure you stop spinning. Yeah. And I'll get it straightened out when it's time. And we're getting close. I can hear it. Okay, so gotta line that up, because I believe I gotta go closer. This is giving me trouble now. Oh well, maybe it'll pull it down. Let me see. I don't feel like it though. I don't like how that feels. Okay, let me start the bolts. All you need. Okay, so gonna put some in through the fill hole. That's what they're for. Put some through. Whoop. Well, I guess that was full, wasn't it? Okay, so we got our fill caps. Brandy new fill caps, because when you do try to pull them out, it destroys them. They're plastic. And I don't think there's really, they should have used rubber, but they didn't. So, and here's what they look like. Just a little button. Oh. No wonder they break when you're taking them out. Wow. These fit really tight. Okay. Cap. Sorry for the sniffling there. I don't got my heater on because it'll drown out the microphone. So, damn. Okay, fill caps are in. This steering box is ready to go back in. So, new gasket, new fill caps, new bushing, and I can't find my nut. Wait 1 second. The nut that goes on there. All right, now we got to do the final adjustment. As you can see, there's some play. I can only go by what I read online and watched online, so you don't want to go too much. Let me get a starting point. Oops, don't you fall out of there. I don't need that on my toes. Turning it up to get some play so I don't over tighten it. You watch when you're turning this arm, see how there's a little play, and that's not turning, so that's a little bit of play. Keep your locking nut loose. Let's turn it full. Wait, I gotta readjust this. That's a full turn. There's a little bit there. There's halfway point. Not much there. Okay, so I want to take a little bit out. So we'll tighten this screw in a little, because you don't want to do too much where your worm gear at full turn. There ain't hardly any play there. Okay. Let me see something here. It's got a little play at full turn, but it's probably hard for you to tell, but this is moving when I do that. It's moving. I feel like I need to loosen it a little more. I don't want it too tight. I don't want to wear that worm gear out. Let's loosen up a good bit a minute until we get some play. This is a bugger to adjust. Let me see, don't you fall on my toes. Okay, it's not even, there's no play there. It's moving. Okay, I think we're gonna call that good. Make sure you tighten it. Put my big gut here so it don't fall on my toes. There we go. And I think that's it. It feels like there's play there, but it's not. It's probably hard to see on camera, but this is moving when I do that. Very, very light. That should be it. Just tighten your locking nut up on it, and you're pretty much good to go. Sorry, shaky video today. Okay. That's it for that. Okay, we're gonna do the steering dampener. I got the steering box mounted, I'll show you. There's the steering dampener. This bolts to the car and then goes over to the steering box. It's like a little shock. So I'll show you what I'm doing here. Okay, this is inside your trunk in the Super Beetle. This is where your spare tire goes. I already loosened the bolt and then remembered I wanted to film it. So there's going to be a little cap here under the spare tire. Pop it off. I'll show you what's going on underneath and it'll all make sense. Take your bolt off, clean the threads up, and it just fell on the floor. I heard it under there. Okay, well, okay, there's the old one. It fell off because it was already disconnected from the steering box. Save your bolt in the end of it because it don't come with one. So let me see if I can get a camera angle under here and I'll show you what's going on. So there's your new steering dampener. This is the part that bolts down up in the trunk area, and this goes to the steering box. Okay, so I'm gonna need that bolt out of the old one. And that's the bushing that we changed in the steering box. This is what goes to it. Let me get the bolt out of there. Wow, okay. So, this, there ain't no angle or anything weird on it, okay. Let me pull it out a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna run that bolt inside in the steering, or in the trunk real quick, just to hold it in place. So, get our bolt, and this is that bushing that we pressed into the steering box. Just put this up through there, crank it up, and I forgot my socket, but you get the point. Here, let me take you off the tripod. So, steering dampener bolts up into the trunk, comes across, and bolts to the steering box. That is the bushingly pressed in steering box is mounted up in there. So that's all done. Your 3 bolts are on the outside inner well that hold the steering box in place. So I know this is some real wacky angles. Also, I did choose to put new hoses going from the reservoir to the master cylinder. It's cheap to do. It only cost me $3 or something, I can't remember. But make sure you get brake hose, not fuel hose. But okay, that's hooked up to the steering box. One ends to the steering box, and the other bolts in here. When you're done, just put your cap on, and that's where your spare tire goes, just to give you the idea. There you go. All right, so got the new tie rods on, new ball joint. I gotta tighten it still. I just gotta hook my brake line up with my new brake hoses. Everything's new. I don't know if you can see up in there, but the steering dampener's hooked up. The arm that comes across that goes to the idler arm, it's hooked up to the steering box. So everything's new. Let's go to the other side. Okay, same thing. Everything's new. Now, that's hanging here because I gotta wait till I get the idler arm housing, so that's hanging in the wind. The tie rods are all hooked up. I just gotta hook the brake hose up on this side now, and everything's new there. So it's coming along. I know this was a crummy video today, but it is very hard to get certain angles. So, but frame head's all cleaned up, and it's hanging up there. Told you crazy angles today. I gotta bolt that all back up in there. So, well, once again, I forgot to close out my video while I was in the garage. No big deal. I hope you guys maybe learned something today, or learned with me, or maybe you have better ways. Always in for some input. Steering box is mounted. All the front end parts are mounted and done. Ball joints, tie rod ends, idler arm, you know, that goes from the steering box over to the idler arm. I'm waiting to get that bushing pressed into the idler arm box because it is extremely tight. Can't do the nut and bolt trick on that. It'll be in, I forget, in about 4 days, because I tried to do it and it bent, you know, the bushing. So I got another one coming, and I don't think he'll let me film up the shop. I doubt it. If he does, I will film it, but we'll see. I don't think he's very up on stuff like that, you know. But I'll be back in about 3-4 days. I'm gonna go ahead and show mounting the idler box and putting everything together, you know, the drums back on, tightening, the proper tightening procedure for the wheel bearings. I got new inner and outer bearings too. So we'll be doing that, and then I'm moving to the back, taking everything apart and doing the same on the back braking system, and I'll show all that. So, okay, thanks for being here. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys soon.